All right, you crazy fuckers. Welcome back to another deep dive. And today, we're going to be talking about something that's pretty fucked up. It's this Texas Heartbeat Act. It's basically banning abortions after 6 weeks, which is basically saying no abortions.
Yeah.
So we have an expert here to help us break down this clusterfuck.
Thanks for having me.
So why don't you start off by telling us what exactly this Heartbeat Act is and, why everyone's freaking out about it.
The Texas Heartbeat Act, also known as SB 8, is a law that bans abortion once a fetal heartbeat is detected. And that's usually around 6 weeks.
6 weeks? I
Yeah.
mean, come on. Most women don't even know they're pregnant at 6 weeks.
Exactly. And that's one of the biggest issues with the law. 6 weeks is just not enough time for a lot of women to even realize they're pregnant, let alone make such a huge decision. And to make matters worse, this law has no exceptions for rape or incest.
So you're telling me that if some poor woman gets raped, she's basically screwed. She has to carry the rapist's baby. What the fuck is that?
Yeah. Well, the authors of this bill believe that abortion is morally wrong, regardless of the circumstance.
Morally wrong. Look, forcing a woman to go through with a pregnancy after being raped is barbaric. It's traumatizing. That's what's morally wrong.
It's definitely a very controversial law and a huge departure from anything we've seen since Roe v. Wade.
Basically a giant middle finger to Roe v. Wade and to women everywhere. But how the hell did this even happen? I mean, don't we have systems in place to prevent this kind of bullshit?
Well, the Texas legislature is currently controlled by Republicans who are generally opposed to abortion, and this law was very cleverly designed to be difficult to challenge in court.
Cleverly designed. It sounds more like a bunch of sneaky legal loopholes to me.
The architect of this legal strategy is actually a former law professor from Stanford.
Wait, a Stanford law professor? You're telling me this guy used his fancy education to help these anti-choice asshats control women's bodies?
His name is Jonathan F. Mitchell, and his goal was to make this law as difficult as possible to block in court.
And how did he do that?
By taking the enforcement power away from the state. So the Texas Heartbeat Act isn't enforced by the government. Instead, it relies on private citizens to sue anyone who performs or aids and abets an abortion after 6 weeks.
Hold on, you're saying any random person can just sue a doctor or a clinic?
Pretty much. And if they win, they get a minimum of $10,000 plus legal fees. It's essentially a bounty system.
It's like a goddamn witch hunt. Anyone with a grudge can just go after anyone who helps a woman get an abortion. It's insane.
It's this private enforcement mechanism that makes it so difficult to challenge in court.
So these assholes basically found a loophole to make this fucked up law bulletproof.
It's definitely made it much harder to fight.
And obviously it's working because this bullshit is still in effect, meaning women in Texas are still screwed.
Yes, as of today, the Texas Heartbeat Act remains in effect. It survived a number of legal challenges, and abortion providers have mostly stopped performing abortions after 6 weeks.
So what's the point of even having a Supreme Court if they can't protect basic human rights?
Well, the Supreme Court did hear arguments related to the Texas Heartbeat Act.
Okay, spill the tea. What do they have to say about this mess?
So, in the case of Whole Woman's Health v. Jackson, abortion providers tried to block the law by suing a Texas state judge and a court clerk, arguing they were involved in enforcing the law.
Makes sense to me. If they're helping to enforce this bullshit law, they should be held accountable.
But the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals didn't see it that way. They thought it was ridiculous to sue state officials.
What's ridiculous is that a law like this can even exist in a country that claims to be free.
And to everyone's surprise, the Supreme Court agreed with the Fifth Circuit. They dismissed the lawsuit and said suing those officials wasn't the right way to challenge the law.
So what is the right way? Are they saying there is no way?
They did leave a small window open for lawsuits against licensing officials, suggesting they might be involved in enforcing the law.
So there's a tiny sliver of hope.
Well, the case went back to the Fifth Circuit and then up to the Texas Supreme Court to figure out if those officials even had the authority to enforce it. And in March 2022, the Texas Supreme Court unanimously decided that those officials were specifically barred from doing so.
Wait, so they created a law that no one is responsible for enforcing. It's like a legal black hole. What about the Department of Justice?
The DOJ actually did step in. They filed a lawsuit against Texas, arguing the law was unconstitutional and conflicted with federal law. They even asked for a temporary restraining order and a preliminary injunction to block the law.
Thank God someone is finally doing something. Did they manage to block it?
At first, yes. District Judge Robert Pittman issued a preliminary injunction blocking SB 8 in October 2021.
Yes. Finally some justice.
But Texas immediately appealed the decision.
Of course they did.
And just 2 days later, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals put a hold on the injunction.
Figures that the Fifth Circuit is about as pro-choice as a brick wall.
The DOJ then appealed to the Supreme Court, hoping they would reinstate the injunction.
Come on, Supreme Court, don't let us down.
The Supreme Court agreed to hear the case, but they refused to lift this stay, so the law remained in effect.
More waiting, more suffering for women in Texas.
And in December 2021, the Supreme Court dismissed the DOJ's case.
Are you kidding me?
They said the DOJ didn't have the right to sue Texas over this.
So the DOJ can't sue, abortion providers can't sue, and this law is being enforced by vigilante bounty hunters? This is some Orwellian shit.
The Supreme Court's decisions were complicated, but they essentially left the law in place.
So let me get this straight. This law bans abortion before most women even know they're pregnant. It's enforced by private citizens who get paid for it. And the Supreme Court has basically given it the green light. America, what the fuck are we doing?
It's definitely a major development in the fight over abortion rights.
Major development. It's a fucking nightmare. This is a blatant attack on women's rights, and it sets a terrifying precedent for other states.
That's a concern a lot of people share. The success of the Texas law has, unfortunately, inspired other states to try similar tactics.
Great. Just wait, we need more laws designed to oppress women. All right, we're going to take a quick break to process all this. But stick around because we're just getting started. We'll be back to discuss the aftermath of this legal clusterfuck and figure out what we can do about it. Stay tuned.
So we've talked about how this legal clusterfuck made it through the courts, but what about the real-world impact? I mean, did this whole scare tactic actually work?
Oh, it worked all right. Clinics were shutting down left and right.
I mean, who wants to risk getting sued into oblivion by some random asshole with a god complex?
You're not wrong. The chilling effect was immediate and widespread, and you know those self-righteous pricks at Texas, Right to Life? They were practically creaming their jeans over this. They even set up a whistleblower website.
A snitch website? Seriously?
Yeah, encouraging people to rat out anyone they suspected of helping someone get an abortion.
It's like something out of The Handmaid's Tale. Talk about a dystopian nightmare. Did anyone actually use that shit? Oh yeah, people used it, but not quite the way Texas Right to Life intended. Instead of a flood of reports about abortion providers, the website got bombarded with Shrek memes, dick pics.
You're kidding.
Porn, you name it. The internet trolls had a field day.
Fucking brilliant. Those sanctimonious assholes deserve a taste of their own medicine. It's a shame memes and porn can't actually solve this problem, though. This law is still causing chaos for women in Texas.
Absolutely. This law has created a logistical nightmare for women seeking abortions, forcing them to travel hundreds, sometimes thousands of miles to find a clinic in another state.
And that's if they can even afford it or get time off work, not to mention finding childcare. It's like they're deliberately trying to make it as difficult as possible.
It is incredibly difficult, and as usual, it's the low-income women and women of color who are hit the hardest. They already face so many barriers to healthcare, and this just adds another layer of bullshit.
It's disgusting. And it's all because some self-righteous assholes think they have the right to control women's bodies. So what happens now? Is there any hope of this law being overturned, or are we just fucked?
Well, the legal battle isn't over yet. There are still some challenges making their way through the courts. But let's be real, given the Supreme Court's track record, I'm not holding my breath.
The legal system moves slower than a sloth on tranquilizers. By the time anything happens, it'll be too late.
You're right that legal challenges can take time, but that doesn't mean we should just sit around and twiddle our thumbs. We need to fight this on multiple fronts.
So besides throwing money at lawyers, what can we actually do?
One of the most important things is to stay informed and educate others. Share articles, talk to your friends and family, raise hell on social media. The more people understand what's at stake, the more likely they are to join the fight.
Right. We need to expose this for the bullshit that it is a blatant attack on women's rights.
Exactly. We also need to support organizations like Planned Parenthood. They're the ones on the ground providing essential healthcare services despite all the obstacles.
Planned Parenthood is a goddamn national treasure. We got to protect them at all costs.
Santa, of course we need to get politically active. Vote in every election, support pro-choice candidates, make your voices heard. Complacency is not an option.
Hell yeah. It's time to kick these anti-choice dinosaurs out of office and elect people who actually give a damn about women's rights. This isn't just about abortion. It's about bodily autonomy. It's about freedom. It's about our right to make decisions about our own lives.
Well said. We can't let these assholes dictate what we do with our bodies. The fight for reproductive rights is a fight for justice, for equality, for the very soul of this nation.
We're not backing down. We're not giving up. We're going to fight this with everything we've got.
That's the spirit.
All right, folks, we're going to take a quick break to refill our drinks and strategize. When we come back, we'll dive into the legal tactics at play here and explore what the hell we can do to fight back against this bullshit. Stay tuned. Okay, you magnificent bastards, we're back and ready to wrap things up. We've talked about the legal shitstorm, the real-world fallout, but what the hell can we actually do to stop this madness?
Well, the first step is understanding the legal strategy. Jonathan Mitchell, the architect of this law, he's a legal ninja.
Yeah.
He designed this thing to be practically untouchable.
So how do you fight a law that's basically invincible?
It's definitely not easy, but it's not impossible. Legal challenges are still ongoing, and there's always a chance a court could strike it down.
Yeah, but the legal system moves at a glacial pace. By the time they figure it out, it might be too late.
You're right, legal battles can take time. But that doesn't mean we should just give up. We need to fight this on multiple fronts.
Okay, so besides throwing money at lawyers, what can we do?
One of the most important things is education. Stay informed, educate others, talk to your friends and family, share articles on social media. The more people understand what's going on, the more likely they are to get involved.
Right. We need to call out this bullshit for what it is, a direct assault on women's rights.
Absolutely. And we also need to support organizations like Planned Parenthood. They're on the front lines providing health care despite all the obstacles.
Planned Parenthood is vital. We need to protect them from these anti-choice vultures trying to shut them down.
Exactly. And of course we need to get political. Vote in every election, support pro-choice candidates, make your voices heard.
Hell yes. Vote those anti-choice dinosaurs out of office. Elect people who actually care about women's rights. This is bigger than just abortion. This is about bodily autonomy, about freedom, about the right to control our own lives.
You're absolutely right. It's about our fundamental human rights. We can't let them take that away from us.
Well, folks, that's our deep dive into this Texas-side shit show. Stay informed, stay angry, stay involved. Our rights are under attack and we can't back down. Until next time, stay strong and don't let the bastards win.